if we're already live. That's great. First of all, I'd like to welcome Mr. Rik Emmett to Wikimetal Happy Hour. Normally we do this in the evening, and we have maybe a beer or a glass of wine. But as this is at 12 p.m. here in Brazil, I have a cup of coffee and salute you. So
Cheers.
it's cheers. It's great to have you. We've been doing these series of chats with people that we admire since we
Thank you,
started this
man.
quarantine thing, and it's a crazy world. And well, I'll ask you about that as well. First of all, it's a great honor because I've been since I was a kid. I remember a very specific, very clear image of watching you playing at US Festival, and that was for me it was like a perfect band at a right place and the right time. Do you have any memories from that day? Was it just an ordinary concert, or was it really a highlight in your career?
Well, a gig starts out and it's just another gig. Like I don't necessarily look forward to them thinking, "Oh, this one." To me, it's just another day at the office. But there's not too many days at the office that start where you fly with a helicopter, into the show. So it was obviously going to be something very, very different. And I think it was the biggest payday the band ever had. So. Um, and in the end, of course, now in the wake of it, after, it's like now this I get asked about it all the time. So I have a million stories because people they want to know, oh, what was it like to be backstage with the Judas Priest and the Scorpions and then Ozzy and was Van Halen really drunk? Like what was going on? Like yeah. So lots and lots of great stories, and it certainly was an amazing event in my life. I look back on it now and I go, crazy great.
Eu perguntei para ele sobre. Comecei a carreira falando que eu sou muito fã do trabalho dele há muitos e muitos anos, né? O Rik Emmett tocou no Triumph por muitos anos, tem uma carreira solo também maravilhosa. E eu perguntei do US Festival, que eu lembro quando eu era criança, a gente tinha a fita do VHS do US Festival, e ele falou que normalmente os shows, né, são para ele é como um dia no trabalho, né, no escritório, é uma coisa comum. Eles estavam acostumados. Eu perguntei se tinha sido alguma coisa especial, diferente do normal, e ele falou que nesse caso sim, porque eles normalmente não iriam para um show de helicóptero e talvez fosse o dia com o maior número de pagantes da história, né? Um festival dos maiores da história. The lineup was also incredible. It was all those bands were like huge at the time, right? It was like, I don't know, quite Riot, Triumph, Scorpions, Ozzy, Judas Priest, Eddie Van Halen. So it was a very good lineup.
It was, and we were different on that lineup because most of those bands were very heavy kind of bands, and Triumph was a little bit more of a kind of like the joke I like to say is, there's a Judas Priest. They drive Harleys on stage and they're wearing black leather and stuff. It's 95 degrees out, and they're sweating like pigs before they even play a note. And I'm wearing a little track top running around in my sneakers, like we were sort of like the band in white. And I think that's why Steve Wozniak, it was his money, it was Apple money. Like I think that we were one of his favorite bands at the time, so it was like, no, I want to have that band on the bill. We didn't actually fit, but I think by the end of the day we'd kind of proven, yeah, we belong. We can do all right.
That's a pretty humble idea that you fit. You did one of the best shows of the lineup, and I mean it was perfect. Eu perguntei para ele, ele falou que eles não eram uma banda que encaixava muito bem naquele lineup porque eram bandas de metal, né? O Judas Priest, todo mundo de couro, e eles era um dia super quente. Ele lembra que os caras estavam suando antes de começar o show, e eles não, eles podiam tocar de branco com camiseta e tudo. Então foi uma muito legal, mas eu falei que imagina que não encaixava, eles encaixaram perfeitamente, fizeram um dos melhores shows do festival. So I have to say honestly that I'm upset with you and I'm mad at you at the same time because you never came to Brazil, and I've seen all of my favorite, probably most of my favorite all-time favorite bands apart from Triumph. I have to say
Yes.
that. I'm sorry about that, but
No, it's a fair it's a fair knock. When 1980, I think, or it might have been 81, we went to England and we toured England and Scotland, and we didn't have a good time. The critics hated us, and it cost a lot of money. Um, and when we got back, we said, why wouldn't we just go into the States all the time? It's closer, it's easier, you get paid more money, there's no hassle. And anytime I got offers, we did make it to Puerto Rico a couple of times, but the offers that we would get to go to South America, there was always a little bit, and I don't mean this in any disrespect, but it's like you go, well, can you really trust the promoters? Are they paying all the money, into a trust account? Um, uh, we've heard stories about, you land, but now you can't get your gear out of the airport unless you come up with
bribe
some
or
money.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some of that stuff. There's stories. So, and the truth of the matter is, if you were a promoter and you made the deal and you signed the contract, I would have come, but you
Yeah.
weren't the guy, it was somebody else. And we never really got the offers from the people that, for some reason they go, oh yeah, we'll do it with this band, but we're not doing it with that one. So, maybe if we'd have said, hey, we'll come and we'll open for Rush, maybe they would have let us come.
But anyway, let me just translate it quickly. Eu falei para ele que eu estou muito bravo com ele, que eu tenho um ressentimento com ele, porque eles nunca vieram para o Brasil e o Triumph é uma das bandas que eu mais gosto que eu nunca vi ao vivo. E ele falou que realmente ele entende, mas que na época não vinham propostas interessantes, eles tinham os promotores brasileiros não tinham uma reputação muito boa. Eu acho que foi um pouco também porque no período do auge do Triumph, o Brasil ainda não era aquele grande mercado de shows e tudo. I think it's a little bit because when Triumph was huge, maybe Brazil wasn't a very common or part of the of the of the touring circuit. So, but I think maybe in 20 years ago or something. But anyway, I
Yes,
just
it's true. And, and I'm going to say, everybody in the world knows that Rock in Rio is like, that's one of the things now that if you've made it, you play Rock in Rio, and you play that stadium and everybody's singing your songs, and that's, now you're in that the highest echelon of rock, AC/DC, Queen, you Rock in Rio, you've made it. So it didn't quite have that stature back in 82, 83,
yeah. No, it started in
when
'85.
Triumph was at its
Yeah,
peak.
yeah,
It, we never got that offer.
yeah.
So
Ele falou que o Rock in Rio teria sido uma coisa muito interessante, mas quando o Rock in Rio também começou, a banda eles já estavam, quando eles estavam no auge de 82, 83, o Rock in Rio ainda não existia. De qualquer forma, anyway, I really want to talk about your solo career because what really impresses me is the variety of musical styles that you're able to perform and in a fantastic way. I mean, you hear great kind of classic jazz. There's some albums that are like classical and the rock pop songs are fantastic, great melodies uh, so in summing it up, you do great melodies. You're a fantastic musician. You're an amazing singer. You're never out of tune at all. You're a very unique songwriter. Is there something you don't do well? I know you're
there's
a humble man, but come on, man. It has to be something you're not good at.
well, it's very nice of you to say all those things. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But I think part of being an effective artist is that you learn to not show the things that you're not good at, just only show the things that you are good at. Like I'm lucky, I'm blessed that I sing, play guitar, and that I love lots of different styles of music. I was exposed to a lot of styles of music from when I was very young. You know, sang in church choirs, uh, uh, classical music, as much as rock and pop and all the rest of it. First good guitar I ever had was a nylon string guitar. I think I have an affinity to South American um, music because so much South American music is based on rhythms, and nylon string guitar is all over the place. You know, some of my favorite uh, records are and early on in my life I was learning sambas and you know so that there's stuff that's it's just part of who I am. There's lots that I'm not good at, but I don't go there. I
But you
just
go
go where I
everywhere. You go everywhere. You do like from
uh,
West Montgomery style to like oh man, it's and one thing I'm curious of is like how high can you reach those notes? Do
not
do
as
you
high as it
regret
used
it?
to.
Do you regret it today? Like, do you think back and saying, "Look, I shouldn't never surrender. I shouldn't do have done it like that high." It's crazy, man.
I know it's true. I once even I was we were opening up some gigs for Steve Perry of Journey,
Yeah, he's
and he
great.
comes to me and he says, "Are you singing a high E in that song?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "And is there another song where you go to a high G?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh,
And that's Steve
that's
Perry, It's
crazy."
not like just any ordinary singer.
Well, there's a thing to it, like and maybe you agree with me on this. When you get into things like prog and metal, you often get this kind of athleticism as part of what's
Mm.
happening to the in the music. You're sort of showing how fast you can go and how intense you can play and how high you can sing or whatever. Um, and that was when you're young. That's kind of a part of it's the challenge. It's almost like if you're running a marathon or if you're jumping a high jump, how high can you go? Like that's the test. So I don't regret it, except I can't do it anymore. You get old and you can't do it. So, I have to move on to the things that I can do, and I mean, when we originally did the song Fight the Good Fight, it was in the key of D minor, and I would hit the high notes. And, uh, I've retired from touring now. I don't go and play live gigs anymore. But when I would go out, I would now play it in B minor. So I moved it down a whole third in order to just be able to try and hit some of the notes. And I would have to change some of the melodies a little bit because I'm 67. You can't sing the same notes you sang when you were 25.
No, you're in fantastic shape, Rick. And since I have to translate it a little bit because
Yeah.
otherwise I forget it. Eu estava falando para ele de como ele canta, né? Ele canta tão bem, ele faz melodias, escreve a música, canta perfeitamente, toca muito, vários estilos, né? A carreira dele solo ele vai do jazz ao clássico, do hard rock ao pop. Ele realmente é um artista muito eclético. Ele falou que o segredo dele realmente do grande artista é não mostrar as coisas que você. Eu perguntei para ele: tem alguma coisa que você não é bom, não faz bem? Ele falou que o segredo é não mostrar o que você não faz tão bem, mas realmente a carreira solo dele mostra que é um artista super eclético. And talking about, since you mentioned the nylon guitars and the South American music, uh, there's a lot of Brazilian music, I suppose you're familiar with, right? I mean,
Yes.
from João Gilberto to all those fantastic, Baden Powell, all those guitar players. Are you into Brazilian music?
Yeah, and I have some records in my collection. And I mean, even like here's a story.